with Gary Adshead.
WA billionaire gave a pretty interesting speech the other day in Queensland. We'll go into the details of it and why she's praising China so much. It's 10 o'clock now. Alrighty, let's just go back to prior to the 10 o'clock news. We were talking about a couple of issues, but the one from Libby Mettam saying that they will ban the use of puberty blockers in children under 16 years of age as part of the issues around gender dysphoria and leading into transitioning. Dr. Luke Torres, he's joined me on the line. G'day, Doctor.
G'day, Gary.
What do you sort of think about this argument?
Look, Gary, I'd like to applaud Libby Mettam for her stance on this issue. And if you'll pardon the pun, I think it's about time we have a leader who's got the balls to stand up on this issue. I've been a doctor for 25 years, Gary, and I'm also a father of 5 children aged between 7 and 17. So I know children are precious. And I also know that puberty is essential to the healthy growth and development of every child's journey to adulthood, both physically and emotionally. And I would never allow it to be interfered with in my children. And so does anyone listening, anyone with common sense, think that if you took an 11-year-old girl and you stopped her natural puberty and you pumped her full of testosterone for years, which would make her infertile, would give her lifelong sexual dysfunction, a deep voice and body hair, that would make her a happier and a better functioning adult? As parents, we know that doesn't pass the pub test. It is not a good idea. And the CAS review, which I've read, it explicitly recommends those treatments be banned in children after looking at all the available evidence on both sides of the argument.
Can I ask you that, at what point then in that, what you just said and the way that you said it, do you not listen to your child?
We listen to our children all the time and we provide them with respect and love, but we don't believe everything our children tell us. When they say they're Superman, we don't go, yes, you are, so you can jump off the roof. We acknowledge their pain and their distress because puberty is a stressful time, particularly for girls. So we need to support them, reassure them, and help them through it. And that's what Ken Zucker, who was the lead expert in gender dysphoria in Canada, did for decades. And all of his research showed that 85% of children with gender dysphoria would get through it with watchful waiting. They would desist in their dysphoria and they would live happy, healthy adult lives, over 85%. And all of them were got to go through a normal, natural puberty. We should never deny our children their natural puberty.
Do you have a view, because we're talking about children here, but do you have a view then that once they have turned 16, they are entitled to make these decisions in consultation with medical professionals and, of course, their family?
Look, I think obviously consent laws in Western Australia allow 16-year-olds more ability to discern these things, but you've got to understand also that puberty and brain development does not stop at age 16. It goes through to almost age 25 in some people, and puberty will often usually run to 18 or 19 years of age. And as I said, a full natural puberty is essential and a right, it's a human right of every child to have their full and natural puberty. And you block that at your peril. And I applaud Libby Mettam because I think she will be on the right side of history on this issue.
Is it? I mean, I understand that if you go through that process of blocking puberty and suppressing it, that it can also be turned around if you've made a decision a little bit later on in life that that's not what you want. What do you say to that? Is that possible?
Well, it depends. So we know puberty has a fixed time frame. So if you delay it early, you can catch up a little bit if you let it run. Yep. But you can't stop your puberty from age 10 to age 20 and then start it and go, from age 20 to 30, I'm just going to go through puberty now. It doesn't work like that. Everyone knows puberty has a fixed end point. And once you cross your end point, you can't go through puberty in your 20s and 30s. It doesn't work like that. So we cannot, no, this is fully reversible. We can block their puberty and at 20 they'll just flower and bloom into adults. No, they won't. And that is irreversible and that is a violation of human rights.
Luke, thanks very much for joining us and giving us your view on that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
Good on you,
Gareth.
Dr. Luke Torres there. It's just something that he's obviously taking an interest in. It's not because I lined him up as a guest to speak to us, but he wanted to have his say as well. Tess is there. G'day, Tess.
Hi, how you going?
Yeah, good. What's your story?
Well, my daughter, unfortunately, is one of the kids that got sort of involved in this. She was raped at 15 and, part of kind of trying to hide from, the natural threat was to change from being a very happy, very feminine girl to, wanting to be a boy so she could hide in plain sight, I think. And it was back in 2016, so we didn't know a lot about this sort of stuff back then. So, it's been a long journey for us. We ended up going and seeing the GP who referred us to the Perth Gender Clinic. And when we sort of eventually got there, was about a 3-month wait to get in. I was really horrified that we sat in a room together. I mean, you're trying to keep the child on side and, support them and everything. And we sat there with the clinic nurse, not an expert, and she offered us puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones in the first 25-minute appointment.
Right, there's so much to unpack there. Can I just ask you first of all how old your daughter was at that time that she went?
She was raped at 15. By the time she sort of came out with the trans declaration, she was 16, and she just turned 17 when we went to the gender clinic.
Okay, and you're saying that it was very easy. There wasn't much. I mean, I would look. This is completely. I got to put myself out there. This is to me. I might as well be talking about a subject matter I've got no idea on. So let me just say this. What did you expect? Did you expect there would be quite a long process before they would start dishing out the medicine? Right.
Absolutely. I mean, they do this affirmation only approach. So from the minute that they come out and say they are, then they are. I mean, what other condition, like if your child, suddenly declares they've got cancer, do they go to an oncologist and tell the oncologist what the treatment they want, they want to get and stuff? Like, it doesn't happen. I thought there'd be therapy. The fact that she was, raped and everything, that, she needed really good rape trauma counselling and stuff to help her, because, I mean, when an event happens that changes your personality, that, so suddenly, is there such a complete change in personality, then you'd sort of think that, that would be a key factor in sorting out before you make any big decisions, sort of stuff. So, no, there was nothing. I mean, they even went so far once we saw the psychiatrist, the head psychiatrist and stuff at the gender clinic, actually said no, rape trauma has got nothing to do with transitioning. Which we know is wrong.
Where are you at now, by the way?
She's transitioned. She was able, in the middle of COVID, when, all other elective surgery was sort of cancelled, we still had a doctor here in Perth that was happily cutting off people's breasts. She'd been in and out of high security mental health facilities. She'd run away. The trans activist came to our house and tried to literally take her because I wasn't agreeing with her taking the medication, and which was abusive and stuff. So they came to our house and tried posing as child protection and tried to take her. So, it's been a very involved, very yucky sort of process and stuff. But yeah, they helped her to run away. She started testosterone and then had her breast removed. But yeah, she's a mess. She can't work. She lives in a state housing house. Psychologically she's worse than she ever was, sort of thing, before. And I mean, she walks around with a dress and a beard and, looking like a complete, circus
wow.
act. And I mean, she has so much...
I'm just sitting here with my gob open because I can't quite comprehend what you're telling me.
So the scary thing is, it's not even the only one. Like, I started a parent support group because back in 2016, when I was looking for support, they put me onto PFLAG, who couldn't understand why I wasn't celebrating the fact that my daughter wanted to, sterilise herself and cut off body tissue. And I mean, they were, there was nothing. So I started a support group. I've spoken to thousands of parents in Australia and overseas that are going through the same thing, and the stories are repeated over and over and over. I've just had a mum over the weekend who is completely suicidal and so depressed because she's got a severely disabled son who's just turned 18, gone into a sheltered group environment, and he's on all sorts of medication for, neurological issues and stuff. and he's been put on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, you know, and she's wondering how she doesn't know what's going to happen to him because of all these other conditions that it's going to make worse. Like, they're not looking after our kids. I mean, this is just, you know, experimental and ridiculous.
Look, you've given us an insight. Unfortunately, as always is the case,
Yep.
we're running out of time. But I'll tell you what,
Yep.
we might just keep you on the line and maybe come back and discuss this at a whole sort of different level at another time when we do have that time. But thanks very much for joining us and telling us the story of what you're going through as a family. That is extraordinary. 133 882. Like I said, I mean, sometimes you've got